Humans of the cardboard, welcome back to Just Nuts, guys. We got awesome news revealed last night. We got the announcement for Terminal World 3 and two of the four archetypes that are going to be displayed in that archetype with 5 new cards of support. That's the other thing. They've done 4 cards prior. Now they're bumping it up to 5, which is just adds a little bit of extra excitement, 20% more excitement, 25% more excitement, I guess. But yeah, it's exciting news to me, honestly, and not even from a views perspective. I don't care how many views it gets. I was honestly just shocked at that. Like that video did not have a ton more views on it, just because I thought that news was really hype. And I guess I don't know. Maybe my thumbnail was whack. I don't know. Whatever it is. But anyway, we need to go into Terminal World 3 and get a little more into the nitty gritty and talk about what this set could look like. I'm going to do separate videos for X-Saber and Teller Knight / Constellar specifically to diagnose what I think those decks did or do need, and and see what maybe what angle Konami might try and take, or what at least I think they might need to take to make these archetypes kind of catch up to the modern day game. And but today we're kind of going to focus on the rest here. What's been going on here? What archetypes are left? What's going to have a chance to slide in to those last 2 slots? I think it's just a really fun exercise here to kind of look through all 27 dual terminal archetypes and kind of break down what's already in, what's in for Terminal World 3, what's already been done in the other 2, what's left over, and like what type of decks are left over, I think, too, on like in terms of what power level they're at. So let's get into this thing. Let's start off, of course, by running through what we already know, right? What's already been done. From the first dual terminal, we had Ritual Beast, we had Gen X, we had Infernoid, and Ice Barrier. Okay, they wanted to hit the 4 attributes, right? With wind, technically earth, fire, and water, right? Then in the next one, we saw something almost similar, but a little bit different. Nekroz for your water archetype, Jurak for your fire archetype, Gem Knights for your sort of earth archetype, but they're kind of a little bit everything. And then Fabled as a light archetype, just to, I don't know, mix it up. And those are the first 2 terminal worlds right there. 8 archetypes out of the way from our initial 27. Now we move into Terminal World 3, where we get the confirmation that X-Saber, Teller Knights / Constellars all are confirmed. And what's cool here is that it seems like they're already alluding to the fact that Constellar / Teller Knights are going to basically get conjoined support, which means it doesn't take up 2 slots in the set. It only takes up 1, but hopefully they'll both get good enough support. To me, Teller Knights have always been like the breadwinner here, and Constellar is kind of, just there. It doesn't really feel like it has much going on, but still, I guess if you are a bigger fan of Constellar, it should get something here. Even though I think Teller Knights was really the one to keep an eye on as far as being competitively relevant post this new support. So that's what we know. And then we have 16 archetypes still left over and ready. And I think there's different ways you can try to sort these out and break these down. One way could be which ones do you think are more likely based on what's a fan favorite? Which ones are the most ready to get a 5-card wave and be ready to compete? Because they don't want to release a terminal world where nothing comes out of it competitively relevant. In the first one, Ritual Beast was definitely the breadwinner. Gen X was kind of the dud. And then Inferno and Ice Bear kind of floated in this range of cool rogue decks for a period of time. And then this next one, Nekroz has seen a little bit of play here and there. Drac really hasn't seen that much play, but the cards are interesting. Gem Knights has really been the breadwinner, and then Fabled kind of a flop as well. And I think in that, even from the competitive stance, you're okay, they kind of mix it up though. They pick some archetypes that do have a good base. I would have argued Ritual Beasts, Infernoids, and Ice Bears have a good base. Gen X did not. And that's why Gen X really didn't do anything. And then for the second terminal world, you could argue Nekroz and Gem Knights had a good base, and the other 2 were kind of lacking. That's kind of what we've seen is those archetypes have kind of done it. And so you end up with a good mix. So whether you think, everybody loves Ritual Beast. Yeah, they made it in. So did Gen X. I don't think too many people loved Gen X. A lot of people like, Gem Knights and Nekroz. How many people are banging the table for Jurak? And not that nobody is, but relatively speaking, I would have guessed it'd be on the back half of which archetypes people were hoping would get support. So it's hard to break it down. I'm going to go at it from the kind of competitive standpoint, breaking it down from which archetypes are kind of fall into the vein of if they get 5 good cards, this deck could be a legit competitive threat, versus the down and out archetypes where even with 5 cards, they're going to need to get a complete revamp, and they're going to have to, really build up from the ground, as opposed to already having like a solid structure to work off of. So let's get into it one by one. I guess this is kind of alphabetical order, I think. Ally of Justice. This is maybe the most down and out archetype. These cards are so rough. I don't even know what they would have to do with these. Almost give me Gen X vibes, but honestly worse than Gen X. At least Gen X had some normal summons that you were like, you know. This archetype, I don't even know like what you take out of this archetype and go, that's going to contribute to future, competitive cards. Next up is Dragoonity. This is absolutely a ready to compete. This is half Winged Beast, half Dragon deck. So you get some of those Dragon tools, you get some of the Winged Beast tools. They already have a handful of really good cards already. They definitely have a solid base for sure. Evil Swarm, I would put in ready to compete. It's a tepid one, and it requires Konami to kind of thread the needle. I just think this deck has a solid couple of extra deck cards to work with out the gate. The main deck cards are pretty underwhelming. They have some trap cards that are interesting, but if they put if they just did like with 5 cards, one good new extra deck monster, and then 4 main deck cards that are just like all 3 of, they all just like facilitate the engine and really give you some cards, because their main deck cards like spells and monsters are basically all unplayably bad. So they would just have to fill that part out, and that's why I still kind of put it here, where I think with 5 good cards they could still make it happen. Flamvel is definitely in the down and out category. Not that there's absolutely nothing, but there's not much. There really isn't. Gishki's going to go in ready to compete. We saw Gishki be very interesting in the OCG very briefly with Sprite. Unfortunately for us in the TCG, Elf got banned so quickly that I don't even think we really got to play with the Gishki Sprite version, because Elf was like a crucial card for that variant. But it still has some good cards in it. I would put Gishki in ready to compete. Gusto's a weird one. It rides this line where I look at their cards and there's like a handful of cards and I'm like, those are playable cards. But it is still like very little cohesion, very little like, what's our win con here? I'm like, what are we going for? I'm going to be optimistic on it and put it in the ready to compete section, but it is a tepid one for sure. Laval, it's down and out, man. Like, again, they have a couple cards that are interesting. They have some fun mill stuff, but like their cards that you mill are like still not even good. Like they don't even get you much payoff. This one definitely ends up down here for me. Miss Valley's another weird one where like they have a hand like Apex Avian, and is the other one Thunderbird, the little one, where like you can potentially, maybe there's a world where you can set up the loop where you get like the infinite Omni Negate. There's some cheeky cards like that. They have a good field spell. They have a couple of really interesting cards, but like very few like good engine cards. So they would really have to build around that. I'm going to lean down and out for right now, because it's not just how many cards they have that are like okay. It's like the type of cards. Like Apex Avian and I think Thunderbird or whatever the little one, the little chicken's name is, they're not the type of cards that you want your core of cards to be. Those are like the end board pieces. I want like the really broken starter card that like gets your engine going. And they don't really have anything quite like that. Whereas Gusto has like a crazy equip spell that's like, read it. It's like crazy. I don't remember the name, but that equip spell is like out of this world good. Naturia, I have to lean towards ready to compete, even if it's basically on the back of like the 3 new cards they got like 2.5 years ago. Yeah, those cards are crazy. And if they got 5 more on top of it, Naturia would absolutely be able to mess around and find out. Cleefort, absolutely ready to compete. I know it's a pendulum deck, but they just have enough good cards, and they're a deck about plopping big towers monsters on the field. Do I love the play style? No, not at all. Are they probably still going to be bad going second, even if they got 5 cards? Yeah, probably. But they have enough, I would say. Shadalls would be like at the top of this list. We're not really ranking them within tiers, but Shadalls are maybe near the top in terms of what I would say is most likely, just because I think it might be the number 1 fan favorite archetype of the archetypes left, combined with the fact that it might have the best base of any archetype we're talking about here. Like, they've got starter cards. They've got plenty of good main deck cards. They've got really crazy extra deck monsters. Like, they kind of have a lot of everything. They're just a little bit slow. And so if Konami can just speed them up a little bit with new cards, like this one it has to be like near the top of anybody's list who's like predicting like what's most likely for sure. Okay, so I put Evil Swarm in ready to compete, but Steel Swarm is not. But the good thing is, I think if they did pick these, it would probably something similar to Tellarknight / Constellar. They both count as L Swarm archetype. There's a handful of cards that search L Swarm cards. That counts for Steel Swarm and Evil Swarm. So they can kind of conjoin those archetypes together like they did with the Tellers, and they can get 5 archetype or 6, potentially even 6 archetypes to get support in a set that only is really supposed to support 4. So you get to kill 6 birds with 4 stones, basically, which is a funny way to say that, but that's kind of the idea there, which is kind of cool. So maybe a little more likely just because it can piggyback on Evil Swarm and maybe make it in that way. Their cards are just not great. They don't have a great base. Vion cards are pretty bad. They have a handful of ones that are like interesting, but they're equip based, which could maybe mean they're a little likely. We've seen with Mikanko and now the new Doom Z archetype that are kind of based around equip spells. Wouldn't be too shocking if they made like a new generic engine out of Vion and it was supposed to just work with decks that want equip spells. That could be something interesting, but for right now, it doesn't have a great base. Worms, absolutely terrible base. They're god awful. Don't have to explain them. Their cards they're flip based, but they're like not a fast flipping deck. Like, and Subterror is still slow as hell, but it's still like a fast flip deck. Mimigul is maybe the other one, but yeah. All right, Yang Zings. Yang Zings have a solid base. They have some okay trap cards, and they have really solid extra deck pieces. They just don't really have the engine cards. Like, they don't get started. Like, what are the Yang Zing starter cards? They don't really have their own. That'd be kind of what I'd want them to focus on, is like, let's give Yang Zing some good main deck tools to like get their shit going. That's what they need more than anything. And then Zephyra maybe right behind Shaddoll, honestly, in terms of how good is your base right now, because Zephyr has a searching field spell, a searching regular spell, a card like Zafrath, which is like a crazy, pendulum monster, and a card to base your engine around that's kind of like your Subterror Guru, where like every turn he's getting you resources card in Zephyr New. That's a 4-card base just right there, where like your main deck feels really solid. Now, now the deck just needs like power, and with 5 cards, I think that's so doable. This one would be my number 1 pick. Zephyr's my favorite archetype, probably in all of Dual Terminal, but especially what's left. Do I think it's super likely to get picked? I don't know. Zephyr's a weird one because it's an archetype made up of combining a bunch of the other Dual Terminal archetypes into a new archetype. Based on lore. So it's like, if they want all the archetypes being selected to feel different, I don't know if you want to pick an archetype that has pieces of the other archetypes in it. It's just a little weird that way. I'm still going to hold out hope for sure. But yeah, I think this is kind of how this shakes out. And again, I don't even necessarily think that like this top level necessarily means that we're going to get 2 from this level. As we saw from last set, they picked Drek and Fabled, 2 archetypes that I probably would have put both in down and out, and they picked 2, so that was half. We already have 1 here with X-Saber, so 1 more could easily be here. Constellar kind of fits that, but like, I think people view this pick as more of a Tellarknight pick. So I don't know. It's hard to really guesstimate at this point. I think if I had to guess, I think Shaddolls would be a really strong pick for them to just make it a good selling set, because so many people be hyped for 5 more Shaddol cards. And then I'd want like Evil Swarm. I think Evil Swarm is a good pick just to get like another double archetype in there and get 6 archetypes in for like 4 slots. I think would make a lot of sense. If you wanted my pick, I've said it multiple times, I'd pick Evil Swarm and I would pick Zephyra. And that would make this crazy, because I would have told you going into it that my 3 favorites were Tellarknights, Evil Swarm, and Zephyra. If 1 more of those gets picked, I will be stoked. I'm already pretty happy because I was very disappointed in the way that Konami designed the Tellarknight wave a couple of years ago. So getting another shot at that to really conjoin it. This is another archetype. We've said this multiple times with some of the other ones. We're like really solid extra deck monsters. They just have not done a good job at giving connective tissue to the main deck monsters. Like, this deck doesn't even really have like a way to make like a 1-card rank 4. Like, forget like 1-card wombo combo. Like, this deck struggles to make a rank 4, 1 rank 4 off of 1 card. You need like 2 cards in hand to like make a rank 4, and that's too much. So they need to connect that a little bit, because they do have good main deck cards. They just haven't connected them well. But we'll get more into the nitty gritty of that once we get to the individual videos for Teller Knights as well as X Sabers. But yeah, let me know your thoughts down below here. 16 open decks here. It's kind of like 15, because if they do Evil Swarm, they'll just probably call it L Swarm. So it's kind of like 15 different options here. Let me know what you want, man. What archetypes do you want the most? I'd be curious. I might even go through the comments of this video and kind of pull what archetypes got picked the most. So if you want to follow that, please only pick 2. I think that's like the best way to do this. What 2 archetypes, like from what's left, would be best case scenario for you? And then I can actually get like a more accurate tally there. Because some people will be like, I'll be happy with any of these 7. And I'm like, that doesn't help me. That's half the options. But yeah, really, really cool stuff. Really excited for this news. Excited to talk about. Excited for Konami to start revealing some of these cards, man. It's going to be so hype when we're getting 5 new Teller Knight cards revealed. It's going to be awesome. All right, but stay tuned. There's going to be more news coming soon and more videos on this topic as well. I'll see you guys in the next video. Thank you so much for watching, as always. Let me know your thoughts down below. Peace.